At what moment did you come to the understanding that the person you were dating lacked intelligence? A guy I was dating 36 took me to a very nice restaurant and I ordered a pork dish. He asked me what animal pork came from. I told him it's pig. He said, "Isn't that bacon?" Another time he took me sailing on his boat. There was a boat in the harbor named Set Larvae. He looked at me and said, "What a strange name. I wonder what it means." He is a multi-millionaire and very successful in real estate. But boy was he dumb. My ex didn't grasp the concept that chemicals made up everything and was being used as a scare tactic. Didn't get why people died on Everest from lack of oxygen, or why colors looked different from monitor to monitor. They were homeschooled and had very large gaps in their education. With my current spouse, I realized I was way less intelligent when they started explaining aspects of their job as a nurse. For a while, she started accusing me of being an avoidant male, and then I started hearing about all of her past relationships, and lo and behold, all of her exes happened to be avoidant males as well. She was the common thread, and she couldn't see that she was making all the guys she dated avoidant through nagging and pestering. I nixed on out of that one quickly. When they started using therapy terms to try and convince me I was a manipulator, turns out they had a massive victim complex and genuinely did not realize what gaslighting was, and that they had gaslit me multiple times. I ghosted his ass. Stupid shitty people who weaponize therapy speech aren't worth my anyone else's time. I broke things off for days in and she threatened to kill herself. We had known each other about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at that point. I asked her how the fuck she couldn't live without someone she just met, and then she started up the "I know I'm a monster" shit. I told her to get out of my life. Wasn't so much intelligence as much as it was critical thinking. He was 25 and believed the Earth was 6,000 years old. He didn't know about the Big Bang, Lucy the hominid others, or what evolution was. He had a general idea, but it was more that he didn't agree with it. Not necessarily lacks intelligence, but it is fun when you find people's gaps in their knowledge, let alone yours. My ex thought that men wiped their tip when they finished peeing. An ex-friend used to think several specifically meant 7 of something. Great, it's the 3rd, 4th. Post in the last 24 hours asking slight variations on the same question. Come RS credit comments 1 by 0. What are unmistakable signs that indicate someone? And oh, look at that extensive post history. Had to teach my ex how to make a grilled cheese. She said she didn't realize you had to use butter and that's why she always burnt them. There were a million things like this. I would just block them from my mind for my sanity. And to a family member, I found out my grandmother wasn't very knowledgeable when she pointed to Alaska on a globe and said Europe is there, and then went to the other side of the globe to find America. An ex, we had an argument where he became very heated. He just couldn't understand why I did not see his point of view, and how it was obviously the truth. No, Rob. Dinotopia was not a thing. People did not ride dinosaurs. Told me that gaskets and rubber components on cars can never fail. Not even after 25 years of sitting in the elements. Okay, cool story. Tell that to my horizontally opposed slip and slide in the garage then. Bozo. I would want to have conversations with her, and the only compelling ones we had were when we were talking about food and sex. It didn't help when she would refer to me as her N-word when either of us were black. The world is only 5,000 years old. Also, I gave them a simple math problem as a joke, and she wasn't able to figure it out. Basically, at 80 miles and how many hours would it take to travel 80 miles? When we were walking to the car on a very, very, very cold day, and I asked her a question, she stopped in her tracks, let out a minute-long finally answered, and then continued walking to the car. I was 15 and she was a skater girl. She asked me while looking into the Mississippi River how grass grew under the water. She was a slut and I was still a virgin till first day of college. When my oven caught on fire and I asked him to call 911, and he asked me the number to 911. I understand it was because he was under pressure. But I need a man to think under pressure. He wanted to finance a Tesla for his Uber driving even though we were living in a motel and couldn't even afford the room unless he pimped me out, and he was stupid at even doing that. She told me that because Alaska was pictured on maps of the United States in an inset box the same way Hawaii is. She thought it was an island, not the Aleutians, the whole thing. When the person started saying things like "my friends think so," or they said "you dress strangely, behave strangely," why don't you think with your own head? He has a hard time answering my questions. He said it himself that he isn't smart, but my questions are simple. He always resort to anger. Good thing I left him. When they told me in all seriousness that the old lady from Titanic was really a survivor, and the whole story of Rose and Jack was her lived experience, he said her to everything help look at this her. Or I sent a frog with his hands together and said he's plotting something here for said what. I dated a guy in high school that literally asked me to stop using such big words all the time. Anyway, I heard he's a lawyer now. He said we need to get rid of cities, because cities are where all the problems start. This was his solution for world peace. The moment that the person I'm currently messaging under was a bot and similar posts were made with slight variations in text, when they insisted the moon landing was staged because, in their words, the flag looked too crispy for space. She slapped my visor, and I drove the speed limit through a light that had just turned yellow. She broke her trunk window because stuff in the trunk wasn't pushed back far enough. They argued that the reason dinosaurs went extinct was because they forgot to eat. The moment she told me she was pregnant but forgot we hadn't even had sex yet. Cut a cucumber. Blade side facing up ... I had to say something 5 slices in. When she said something about how cavemen had to worrying about dinosaurs. When she tried to inflate my genitals because it's called a blow job. For me, she used the leaf blower to clean the inside of the house. She told me she voted for George W. Bush not once, but twice.